All right, good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
I'm Tom Rollins, the Division Director. I think most of y'all know me, but I'm on camera too. Hey, everybody. I wanted to ask for mirrors to film this so that we could use it for some of our messaging around this workforce initiative. So, for those of you out in video land, we have in this room today for the kickoff of our National Child Welfare Workforce Institute grant, which is going to be about a 4-year grant worth at least $600,000 in money and lots more in technical assistance, certainly. Of course, our goal here is to really work with Georgia State University, with the University of Georgia, with all of our own staff and with our experts from around the country in improving our workforce. And why is that important? I think in child welfare we spend a lot of time talking about improving practice, improving policy, improving outcomes, getting our child and family services review numbers right, pleasing the federal government, serving our clients and our families and our children, spending money properly. Folks, you can't do any of that if you don't have an encouraged, stable, supported workforce. And you can't create that workforce unless you have leaders in your agency at all levels who have been trained in how to create and manage such a workforce. We talk a lot, of course, I think we all know that in child welfare the usual thing to do is to react to the last crisis. And so what we often do is we'll have a crisis and we'll have changes in policy and changes in practice and that sort of thing. But many of you have heard me talk a lot about just culture, about learning culture, and about safety culture, because I believe that these three very interrelated ideas are what helps us achieve our goals of keeping children safe, of helping families, more than any specific practice we can engage in. And some of y'all have heard me quote my favorite scholar on the issue of child safety, Eileen Monroe from Britain. And she says, the heart of a child protection system's capacity to improve children's safety lies in the quality of service that frontline workers offer to families. Procedures and monitoring are important, but they have little value unless the agency has practitioners with the skills to think through family strengths and dangers, enabling explicit risk assessments, lead explicit decision making about the best course of action for children, and engaging with families to help them change. And these, of course, require an empowered workforce with discretion and experience and training to do these things. She goes on to say that transforming child protection practice depends on professional leadership focused on the actual interactions frontline practitioners have with parents and children, paying attention to the emotional as well as the cognitive dimensions of the work, and continually learning about the impact of the work on children and families. In our view, the most critical soft issue within and around child protection is the pervasive and debilitating problem of anxiety. Western culture in general, and child protection agencies in particular, have been increasingly co-opted in the myth that every risk is calculable, every problem solvable, and every child death chargeable to a particular professional's account. In these conditions, human beings become more defensive and display their worst dysfunction in the face of anxiety and fear. Child protection leaders who want to grow practice depth and create a culture of continual learning must constantly challenge the corrosive effects of anxiety and the compulsion to pursue unattainable certainty. So at the bottom of this effort we're leading for the next 4 years is the idea of creating especially a frontline workforce. Those who have certainly created the conditions in the chain of command, so to speak, above those workers, in which we encourage risk-taking, in which we also train people on how to manage risk within reason, in which we create a culture from which we learn from our mistakes, because we know that every action we take could conceivably result in a bad outcome. But that does not mean we should do nothing. We have an obligation to serve children and families. We have an obligation to protect children, and at the same time we have an obligation to serve those children's families. Two very difficult balancing acts. And so what we're going to do in this process, in partnership with our university partners and in partnership with our experts, is help our own workforce and our emerging leaders and our folks who are coming along up the chain of our agency to create a workforce in which we encourage a just culture, in which we encourage psychological safety, in which we learn from mistakes and we do not throw people under the bus for making a mistake, in which we learn how to empower our workforce, in which we learn to manage by holding people accountable, but in the way that a parent should hold a child accountable, in that they know we care about them, they know we care about their future, about their career, but we still need to make sure that we're disciplining and correcting people so that they can grow. And that's what a just culture is all about. And it is this kind of project in particular that's going to help us create those leaders who can manage that agency that we want to create. One in which we, as an agency and as individuals, are part of a larger system of child protection, and in which we have frontline workers who are well trained, who stay with us for a long time so that they can learn wisdom and judgment and learn from their mistakes and their experiences, in which we interact with in a transparent way with all of our partners in the community, in which we build up these communities so that we as an agency don't take responsibility for everything that happens, but instead we create the environment in each community in which our workers have the ability to do the best they can, and we also build up community partners who can assist us in this work and who can take ownership of this work, because we are simply one state agency. We can't fix everything. So this is going to be a fun experience, which is why I was really excited and felt very privileged that we were picked for this project, for this program. It's going to be a fun time. I intend to stay around till the very end of it, if not hopefully longer. So knock on wood. Thanks everybody.